And welcome back to the Investor Shed podcast. My name is Nick Beveridge. You are listening to the best real estate podcast in North Idaho, where we are not going to talk about real estate today. Welcome, Jeremy Kitchen.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to not talk about real estate today. Fucking finally. No, I'm just kidding.
Finally.
And we're canceled already.
Yeah.
No, seriously, we got a different episode for you. This one's a little bit about alternative investing. And, I bet somewhere along the lines, you're going to find some silver lining in what we're talking about.
That was good.
Thanks.
That was really good.
Thanks. I 6 out of 10 on the execution, but the pun was there.
So one of my favorite investments that's not real estate is actually, yes, silver.
Mm-hmm.
Silver. And if you're watching this on YouTube, we're gonna be pretty demonstrative today. We've got a lot of cool little demos to show off, and coins, and different types of coins too.
Trinkets and gadgets. Oh,
and
my.
just we want to talk about, if real estate's too tough, or if you just want to do something else as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a fun and safe alternative to straight up cash.
Sure.
And
And yes, like, I want to hit this real quick. Like, it is a fun and safe alternative to cash. This is not what we would call investing advice on this episode.
Oh,
this is more
it
of
could be advice.
This could be advice, but like, we're going to go into the trends of silver and gold and everything like that. But if you look at it in the past 10 years, like, it hasn't done exactly great.
No, you know what? I first started investing in silver in 2012.
Okay.
So this was quite a while ago. And guess what silver was trading at back then?
I mean, I know the answer because we researched it, but why don't you tell me for fun?
Yeah. So I was buying when it was about $38 an ounce. And today it's around, I think, $31 or so.
Yeah.
So it's actually gone down in value since 2012.
Now, why do you think that is?
Well, I think it was just trading high. So 2012 was a unique year.
Sure.
Where there was a lot of people afraid of what was going on, and it was like I think it was kind of the peak in the end. It was the peak of the silver market,
right?
But since remember all that we buy gold, that fad that was going on in 2008, 2009, the economy was going to hell. There was a lot of quantitative easing, and all of a sudden, gold and silver prices started going up. Because people realized, hey, this is a good hedge against inflation. Let's buy this stuff, and they were right.
Yeah.
But it just got to a point where it was just overvalued.
Right.
And that's when I jumped in, which is, whatever.
Whoopsie daisy.
But I don't think, I don't have to think this. We can just do the math.
Right.
Even if I was just saving silver back then, and it actually did drop in price and became more affordable.
Right.
It still would have been better than just having cash sitting in the bank if you consider inflation and how much the average inflation, about 13% has been the average for like the last 50 years.
Sure.
Now that's the unofficial numbers. The official numbers are skewed because they take out important things like energy and food and all this stuff. But when you factor in back the normal stuff that we spend money on average, our U.S. dollar, the fiat currency, tends to lose approximately 13% a year.
13% a year, okay.
Approximately.
Yeah, approximately, of course. So.
And in 2020, 2021, 2022, it was losing more than that.
Oh, yeah, big time.
But on average, like almost 13% is like the unofficial, like kind of proven
Sure.
What you should actually consider cash to be losing value. And that's why people that are wealthy, people that make a lot of money, they tend to constantly be investing their cash into assets that appreciate in value.
Right, absolutely.
Because cash goes down in value. This is only a couple $1,000, and I usually have a couple $1,000 sitting in my safe in the garage for emergencies.
Well, look at you, rich man.
But I do know what comes along with the expense of having this in my safe. I view it as an expense.
That's a good way to view that, actually, honestly.
Because if you lose 13% a year, $2,000, I mean, it's quick math. That's about what, $260 or so.
Yeah.
That you're losing every year just to have that sitting in your safe.
So your 2,000
purchasing power.
So your 2,000 suddenly becomes 1,740 hypothetically.
Exactly.
Of what you can purchase. And I do think, like, while we're on this subject specifically, I think this year is going to be a high inflation year.
You would think so? Okay.
Just the way things are going and the way the economy's going, like. I read a report yesterday that egg prices are already high. They're estimated to go up an extra 40%.
Yeah, well, that has to do with dead birds.
Right, and I understand, like, this has to do with a lot of things, but these things all trigger an inflation, right? So if prices are higher for somewhere else, it does lesser the value of your dollar because you can't buy as much.
Egg whites, too, are going up now.
Not just the yolks.
Yeah. Oh, man.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Like you said, statistically, it's
better source of protein, by the way. Just wanted to sneak that in there.
the egg whites.
Yes.
It's a better source of taste.
Oh, the whole egg?
The whole egg.
Right, yes.
And then if you're going to get better value for your buck, if you're going to buy eggs, you might as well use the yolk.
The yolk.
The yolk.
I love yolks.
I love yolks too. Like, I'm not...
I love the grocery store yolks in Kellogg.
There's one out in Spokane too. But, no, the whole egg, like, if you're going to spend, $12, $13 on a carton, you might as well eat the whole innard. I'll eat the shell at that price.
Yeah. Yeah. So, so if you guys know me, I'm kind of a high risk guy, and I leverage a lot, and I invest in real estate heavily, and I have rental properties, and I flip properties, and I'm not afraid at all of getting into a bunch of debt and purchasing real estate because I know that we live in a fiat currency country, and the best way to grow wealth in my eyes, and the way I want to do it, is by leveraging, buying appreciating assets and making them cash flow.
Yep.
But I can't just, there's so many books out there and so many experts and so many wealthy people that say you should really still diversify. Even though you know what you know and do what you do and put 80% of your eggs in that basket, if you're good at it, you should still be diversifying your income to other assets.
I agree with that.
So my second favorite is silver. And it's the cool thing about silver, as you may know, is that you don't have to be super skilled to acquire it.
Right. It's very easy to get.
Yeah,
Actually, easier than you probably think to get.
Yeah, and that's a huge difference. If you want to flip houses, or if you want to buy rental properties, you want to buy them right, it actually takes quite a bit of skill to find the right deals.
Yeah.
And you got to know a lot of people. It's a lot of prep work. It's riskier. Now, sometimes it's not as risky if you're not putting your own cash into it.
Well, sure.
But you're still putting your name out there.
But the deal itself is typically more risky than buying silver, and the reason is because when projects scale as big as real estate does, there's tend to be a lot more that can go wrong versus silver, just kind of like almost like a streamlined market.
Right. Yeah. So, with the exception of 2012, when I got into silver, for the most part, almost every time I've purchased silver and held it and then had to sell it, I've only had to sell twice, by the way. That's another cool feature of owning precious metals.
Yeah.
Is that you're not tempted to constantly go cash it in.
Yeah.
Now, since 2012, it's 2025, I've had a lot, believe it or not, of financial emergencies.
No way.
In the last 13 years. A ton of them.
Yeah.
But only twice have I ever felt the need to, I need to go to the coin shop and cash in some silver because I really got to pay some bills.
Yeah.
Instead, I look for alternative. Most of the time, if I'm financially struggling, it's like, oh, tighten the belt.
Yep.
Let's cut out some expenses. Let's increase our income. Let's sell more. Let's fix the problem instead of, but if I had, and I usually drain my savings accounts too.
Right. Yeah.
To whenever I'm having issues. Fortunately, I haven't had many issues in the last year. That's been nice.
Congratulations. It's been really nice seeing you not have very many issues. So props to that. So really your silver almost works as like an emergency savings for you. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a great way to constantly pour money a little bit.
Sure.
A forced savings. It's actually, it's never forced.
No.
But
it feels forced because again, there's an extra step involved to cash it in versus money in your bank. You click a button and then that's gone.
Yeah, you just hit the transfer button. Okay, I've got 5,000 in savings, and then guess what? 3 months from now, I'm going to have a $5,000 random expense that I need.
Done.
And boom, there it is.
Yep. Versus the silver, you have to go out to your house. You have to go find your silver. Go drive somewhere to turn it in.
Do the shameful I've got a box.
I got a thing here.
Feel like going to a pawn shop. It's actually not a bad experience.
Yeah.
And you're not that's another thing too. It's not like going to a pawn shop where you're selling your stuff for 1/10 of its value.
Right.
You're getting almost the entire value. Anytime I've traded in silver, which I've done twice, you get the whole thing minus 50 cents or something like that per coin.
Is that what the spot price is? Is the spot
it's like
what people are willing to pay? Is that what
they'll
that
pay
is?
you the spot minus like, something small, like 50 cents or $1 or something like that.
Is that per ounce or per coin or?
Yeah, per ounce.
Okay, cool. And so what is the spot price?
So right now,
No, like what defines spot price? What is that? Does that make sense?
yeah, spot is the current value of a silver ounce.
Okay, so that's the current value.
Or gold ounce.
Right,
or
right.
Whatever metal you're dealing with.
Gotcha. So places like you said, when you turn them in, they pay spot minus a fee.
Yeah,
Cool.
Spot,
So you just know what you're getting for the most part, and it's not like
right. You're getting almost all of it.
You're not buying
You
it
always
just-
pay a fee for doing a transaction for the most part. That is kind of, but it's such a minute amount of money that you don't even. It's not enough to like decide. Oh, I can't go trade it in because I'm not going to get enough.
right.
You're going to get pretty much what it costs you. Now these dealers have to make money, but they make a small amount.
That's what I was going to ask. Like, how do they stay in business if they're just making 50 cents a coin? Like,
Well, it depends on where you go.
Sure.
So you got to be there's certain large dealers on the internet that people do a lot of transactions with, and they have smaller spot fees.
Sure.
But almost always they're selling you silver plus a premium
Sure.
for buying it. So
Okay.
like whatever the silver's going for, that plus $1 or
Got
plus $5.
Sure.
Or depending on the value of the. If it's a special coin or like
Right.
has a special new design,
commemorative coin or something like that. That makes sense because I always thought when you go into one of these places and they pay you spot and then they put it out at spot. And I'm like, how are you making money here?
Yeah,
That makes sense. That they add their own fee on top of that.
So there's a website I've used quite a bit in the past, JM Bullion, and you can go to that and click on their buy silver page. You can go to the 1 ounce bars, and you can just try to go. Okay, let me just search by what's the best popularity or something like that.
popular.
How much is it going to be? Okay, so there's so much to choose from, but let's see, what are you actually going to pay? Spot.
Are you looking to see exactly what the spot is today?
Well, I can look online here. Let's
Because it said
do a
live
Google
spot
search
prices
for
right
that.
up there. So
Current silver price. That's a good way to find out. And immediately it tells you it's currently, and it changes daily.
Yeah.
It's $31.32. And as you can see on this website, when you just try to find, okay, I want to buy what 1 ounce coins. What I did wrong, I hit bars instead.
You got these
all
bars,
silver
bars.
coins. So let's look at all the ones that they have available.
$200.
Yeah, so they're showing you a bunch of like collective,
Right.
collectors and stuff. But you can just go to like buy.
Star Trek coins. That's cool.
Let's see. I want the cheapest one. Recently added. Let's go price low to high. Okay, so here we go. The 1 ounce coins, variety, condition, any mint. That's like this is. They are going to charge you about $35 an ounce.
Okay.
So it's currently valued at 31. Going to cost you about 35.
Sure. Okay.
Depending on what you go with. Everything's a little bit different, but what I recommend if you're new at silver buying is just try to buy the cheapest silver you can.
Yeah.
That's troy ounce.
Troy ounce.
Not a regular ounce.
What's
there's
the
a
difference?
The difference is about 10%.
Okay, so 10% weight. Okay.
Yeah,
Are troy
so
ounces
you get
heavier?
so you get more silver with a troy ounce.
Gotcha. More bang for your buck. Well, same bang, really.
Which is what most people or most dealers are doing that. Some of the more shady websites out there, they may just be selling regular ounce coins to those that don't know. So you got to be careful. There are also scammers out there online that like even have Google ads that you got to be careful of. I remember I bought a couple $1,000s once worth of this coin that I saw was on special, and it was like $3 or $4 less than a regular coin. A regular. So I was like, what? How is it like $3 or $4 less? And this was when I was just I was not as savvy with silver back then.
You pulled the trigger.
And I just pulled the trigger and instead of just buying one because it was like a Google special one. And I looked at it and it said silver all over it. But it was a straight up lie and a scam from China.
Okay. China.
And I've got it right here.
But you still got some of your fake stuff?
Yeah, well, they never took it back, but they did refund me once I found out that it was fake.
They refunded you half, right?
More like 85%.
85%, okay.
Like that. But I got to keep... So I got all these... I got a couple $1,000 worth of these.
I find it crazy that they even refunded you, to be honest. Like,
yeah. Well, they got caught. Well, so here it is. It's just one of these like Liberty, very common. Mm-hmm. It was 2020 was the year that I got these, and I was like so skeptical when I got it because I remember them emailing me like, "Are you sure?" Which was just like, interesting. I'm like, yeah. And then the order went through, and then it was all Chinese writing in my email. I'm like, shit, what happened?
Oh no.
Anyway, they sent me the huge box of silver. It cost a couple thousand. I can't remember if there was like 20 or like 50 of these or something like that, or 75, whatever.
Yeah, you got a lot of them for sure. I remember. And
then I started researching. Okay, how can I tell if these are fake? And one of the easiest ways. Here's a magnet. This is a coin that I just got in the mail the other day. I'm on a subscription now where I get about $150 worth of silver a month. Cool. Automatically. I just have to pay for it, but it's on an automatic subscription, so I don't have to think about it. Mm-hmm. But if you take a magnet and if you take a silver coin, nothing happens.
Okay.
It's not magnetized.
Sure.
But some of these, you can spot a fake pretty easily. Look at that.
Huh.
That fully magnetized because it's steel. It's not silver.
Yeah. Okay, so
now it says silver. It says it's 100. 99.6. It's just a lie.
Right. Yeah, no, and like to the naked eye, if I saw both these in a coin shop, I would assume both of them were real.
Yeah, it just looks like silver.
Yeah.
And it says it's silver, and it didn't say anywhere on the website. It didn't say anywhere in the language that it's not necessarily fake or like improvised or whatever they want to call it. Imitation silver, I think is the word. It didn't say anything like that. It just said that this is just what it was, and it was. And then I emailed them. I'm like, hey, this isn't real silver, and they're like, yeah. I'm like, I want to return it all. And they're like, you can, but how about we give you 50% of your money back, and you can just keep that. And I'm like,
what am I gonna do with $1,000 of fake silver?
And I didn't really trust, like, if I sent it back, I didn't really trust that I would get the money back.
Yeah.
And so, like, if I just sent it back, and I said, well, what if I would do it for 85%?
Yeah.
And they said, done. Which was so weird. You're like emailing this huge company.
Yeah.
And they're negotiating to give me back 85% of my money and just keep whatever.
Right. Well, it's all garbage.
So now my kids have it for fun. Like, it's just fun play money for them.
Cool. Okay.
There's a bunch of it, but I got the bulk of it back. But it was a good lesson. It was like, watch out for there's on the internet, even a Google ad. I just couldn't imagine that you click on a Google ad and they'll sell you fake silver.
Right. And you do have to be careful with that because it's not Google that's sponsoring that ad. It's it's that company sponsoring that ad. It's them.
Yeah, it's the company buying Google ads.
Yeah, it's the company buying that space. So it's not like Google has control over this stuff. Anytime I do any sort of Googling or any sort of online purchasing, I never go to the sponsored pages. I start scrolling down, and if I type in new cell phone, it's like sponsored. Then you go to like one that isn't. I'm like, all right, there we go. So yeah, just be wary of that for sure. The sponsored ad, I've heard too, like they collect your information.
Yeah,
if you click on them. So again, that's just
that's
side
true.
tidbit.
Yeah, well, I think everybody's got everybody's info at this point.
I'm not too worried about that.
But some good websites to go to if you want to buy silver online. These are the big trusted ones. Let me pull them up here. JM Bullion was one of them.
Okay.
APMEX.
Ampex?
AppMex.
We're very
I bought
good
from
at this.
them before.
Yeah.
APMEX. They're a great site. Also SD Bullion.
What's the difference between JM Bullion and SD Bullion?
They are just different companies.
Okay. They sound like billion, so I hear those and I'm like,
Bullion
that's who I want to go with.
Like bulk silver.
Buying in bulk. Got it. Okay. Yeah. Bullion billion is what I'm hearing.
Bullion. We can ask,
cool.
What does bullion mean?
That's cool.
Exact instead of me guessing.
And Nick's saying here, like, these are going to be websites you go to buy legitimate silver. Another thing you can do is, if you are interested, go down to your local coin shop. Most of the time, silver rounds actually they get eaten up pretty quick at your local coin stores. Am I correct?
They do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just there recently at the DJ Coins
DJs?
is a great place to go in Coeur d'Alene.
Yep.
And they're always running short on regular like the regular
Troy
Eagle
ounces.
sound.
Now these ones you got, these feel like normal ounces. They don't feel like Troy ounces, but I could be.
Yeah, so that's what I got to start researching now because I didn't when I signed up for this website and I did some research. I found that it was the most credible kind of subscription silver site that you can that was out there.
Sure.
And then I was able to get like a coupon code to save an additional 15%. So I don't know if they like cut it down or what.
Gotcha.
But they're supposed to be sending you approximately 92% of whatever money that you send them should be the equivalent in the silver value.
Gotcha. Okay.
So approximately there should only be about 8% in premiums or fees built in or
Sure.
shipping, that kind of stuff.
Right.
Which isn't abnormal.
Sure.
But it's a great way to like just kind of set it and forget it. A regular investment, if you can handle $100 or $200 a month or something like that.
Yeah.
That one is called, I think, Investor Crate is the name of that website.
Can you buy
I'm
gold there
using.
too?
Let's see. I can't remember. Have you bought any gold yet?
I have not. It's on my list of like one day, and it's not. This is not where I'm spending my money right now. But like, I want a troy ounce of gold.
A Troy. Okay.
Yeah, it's like
they do
it's
have
like it's
gold.
like $5,000 or something like that. But I just want that. That feels like it'd be a cool flex.
Yeah, they've got gold available too for this.
I remember
Gold
when
and
you used to
silver.
have the big bars, Nick.
Those are fun.
Nick had the 100-ounce bars of silver. Those are so much fun.
And they're so much heavier than you could imagine.
Yeah.
Even though they're only 7 pounds or something
It's
like that.
weight and density it like tricks your brain. But Nick would always come to the office, and I remember this was very funny. You'd have a whole bunch of silver rounds and a whole bunch of silver. You'd trip down the stairs or something. Oh no, I dropped all my silver.
I did that? I can't
Makes a
remember
big mess. So
That's kind of funny.
yeah. And again, what Nick's talking about, like this is an alternative to cash in the bank. This is not your preferred investment strategy, but if you were going to be just putting money in your bank, which I think Nick and I can both agree this is not the way to do it, this is a safer alternative than just letting your money rot away, correct?
In my opinion, yeah.
Yeah, in your opinion, correct.
Yeah,
I mean, there's better ways to utilize your money. You know, there's high yields, there's stock markets that grow annually. But this is something that if you are going to be utilizing an emergency savings fund, silver's not a bad place to put it.
Yeah. So why don't we go back to the basics here?
Okay.
So different types of silver. So you got Bullion, which is actually just like silver. It's more for investing in less collectibles.
Okay.
Even though the sites can sell both. And then what's the name of that?
Numismatic.
Numismatic. That's more these type of deals. And so I've also got a collection here.
Oh, you got collectibles.
I do have my collectibles. I don't know why I'm fascinated by these Silver Morgan rounds. I've got a bunch of these from the late 1800s
That's probably why
and
you're
the early
fascinated.
1900s.
Freaking cool.
But they're not a troy ounce, and they're not 100% silver either. They're 90% silver.
They're mixed with nickel and stuff, correct? They're mixed with other metals to...
Let's see. I can't remember. I know. Oh, you know what? Copper.
Is it copper?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's 10% copper, 90% silver. But man, these coins are just so cool because they're pretty abundant out there. You can still find them, but I
Yeah.
just have a feeling, when I'm an older gentleman, I feel like the 1800s.
This feels like such
coins,
an old man hobby as it is. Like, look at my coins from 1883.
Yeah, 1883. I've got, and then there's a few that I keep in this bag that are like that did cost a little bit more of a premium than the actual silver cost. This one is from 1880.
Are you interested
it
in
cost
my
$58?
Are you interested in my coin collection? I've got a bunch of stuff like this.
Do you?
Yeah, like
Oh,
really
yeah,
old
bring it
dimes
over.
and nickels and stuff. Okay,
Bring
let's
it
talk it over.
over.
Yeah.
Here's another one from 1880, but it's got a different rating on it, kind of like a basketball card.
Yeah, like a
in the
grading.
back.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's like it depends on how good a condition it's in. That one's $20 less value than this one, even though there's the same coin.
Now, what's the grading? Are these the gradings over here? The CHAN or whatever?
I think it also has to do with, I'm probably speaking out of term, but also what factory that they were made from.
Got it. Okay.
Also has something to do with the value. There are some that were, I think, made in 1883 that have like up to a $10,000 value, but they're just like rare.
Sure.
There's like they're
Kind of
they're
like those
rarities
pennies that are like, if you find that one penny, it's worth $1,500 or something like that.
Yeah, but as you can see, I mean, I've got how many of these? Like 20 or so of these coins that are all over 100 years old.
Yeah. That's
90% silver.
That's pretty
And
wild.
I can't see myself ever selling this stuff.
Right.
It's just too fun for me.
Yeah.
So we got those. Those are more collectibles.
Okay.
But they still have the value of the silver plus a premium for being a collectible.
So this one, like hypothetically, it says $58 on it. When did you buy that?
I bought that probably it was during COVID.
During COVID?
Right,
Okay.
right when COVID happened.
So you bought this
I pulled out of the stock market and
That's
I was
right.
buying a bunch of silver, I think, at the time.
Now, if you were to...
No, I pulled out of, I think, crypto, and I did buy, like, I started buying Delta and Tesla, and then also coins.
Now, hypothetically, of course, so this one is a special kind of a collector's coin. If you were to take this to a coin shop, I know you said you don't want to sell it, but if you were, do you think you would get that price or close to that?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I would definitely, because that's where I bought it from.
Right.
I'm sure that they would buy it back and then give me, I don't know if it's worth the exact same or any more. I would imagine it's worth more because when I bought it, silver prices were about $20.
Right. So it's been up. It's up.
And since then, this was just a few years ago, silver has gone up about 30% in value. The U.S. dollar has not.
Weird.
So having all that money in just a simple savings in my safe, a bunch of silver, instead of cash, sitting on cash, going down in value every year, this stuff, I thought it would just stay the same, about $20.
Sure.
But it went up to 30.
Cool.
Which was kind of nice. It was kind of nice when I actually did have to cash in on that, that emergency. One of them was in 2022. I had to fire a bunch of people, and I was building a bunch of homes, and we were over budget on a bunch of them. And I had one project manager that I just could not fire yet. I didn't want to. I wanted to keep him. He was doing a great job, but I did not have the funds to pay him. But I had silver in my safe. Yeah. So I went one day on payroll day because I couldn't make payroll. Hey, quick commercial break here. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. I really do appreciate it. If you want to give back, let me help you buy a house, or I can help you sell a house. It's the only way I make money when I'm not investing in real estate. I don't make money on this podcast or the events I do, but I do make money only when I help people buy and sell houses. So if you're looking for your next investment and you're here in North Idaho, I want to help you personally. If you are not in North Idaho, I can still help you out. I have a vast network of referral partners all across the country, and I can find the right real estate investor savvy agent for you so you don't have to. It doesn't cost you a thing. Thank you for your support. Back to the show. And I cashed in my silver and I paid him cash and he was happy.
Yeah.
And he stayed with me for another 6 months.
Yeah. Hang tight,
until
buddy.
we got all those houses built, and then we shut down the company and we all went on our merry ways, and it was all good. And now he's got his own company.
Cool.
So silver saved me back then. And then recently, again, about a month or two ago, my mom came to me and her car was breaking down. She was talking about quitting her job just because she couldn't afford another car right now, and just trying to retire off like $1,300 a month.
Yeah.
And we got her into a brand new nice house with a reverse mortgage, so she didn't have to make a payment. But maybe if she did retire now and quit her job, then she wouldn't have the car issue.
Right.
And she can just barely pay what she has to pay her taxes and insurance and stuff. I'm like, Jesus Christ, let me buy you a car.
Right. Yeah.
I happened to find her a Tesla. That way, it was used, had a salvage title, but it was in really good shape. It was about $20,000. I'm like, dude, this car is going to last for a while. It's going to be very cheap for her to maintain. She can plug it in her garage.
Yeah.
And she don't even have to buy gas anymore.
Right.
So I went and changed. I cashed in about $10,000 of silver. Took another $10,000 out of my bank. Went and bought her that car with cash. And she's as happy as a clown.
Yeah.
If clowns are happy.
I think as happy as a clam is what the
Clam. Are clams happy?
I don't know. Clowns.
Clams
now that
seem
you
to
say,
get eaten.
Yeah, but now that you say it, like I think happy as a clown sounds like it's better. I think the saying is happy as a clam.
I think you're right.
Now I sold you silver back in, I think it was 2021. I sold you about $1,300 of silver.
Yeah.
Because I was getting a house and I just needed to come up with my down payment. So I was like, Nick likes silver.
Yeah.
Now we made a deal on that day, by the way. Do you remember that deal?
I think you had the option to buy it back at whatever you sold it to me for,
Uh-huh.
right?
I can do that, right?
Within a year.
I don't know if we put a timeline on this one. I don't want it, but I think
I don't even know if I still have that. I might have cashed it in.
you probably did.
Okay.
But what I'll do is I'll take these
I might have
ones.
cashed it in to get. Okay. Oh, you'll take those, my collectibles. Do you remember what you paid or what I paid you? Was it
$1,300, I think.
Oh my god, I remembered.
Yeah, well, I just
This
said
was
it.
years ago.
I just said it. So
Okay.
yeah, you may
Said
have
it at the same time.
Yeah. No, I said it before you, like 30 seconds earlier. So anyway,
okay.
we
That's
made
how
a
I
deal that
remember.
said I could buy it at. I think you said at $25 a round, because I
Okay.
think I sold it to you at $20 a round.
Okay.
I think that's the deal it was. But anyway, like I'm not gonna cash in on that. I'm just kidding. Just
Gotcha.
Thought it was funny that we put an ambiguous number on a deal that we did a handshake on.
Well,
We've learned a lot since then.
yeah, yeah. So I think that silver just got thrown in with the mix.
Yeah, no,
after a while, I remember I kept it in my desk for a couple years.
Yeah.
I think, and then eventually I just brought it in the safe and it got mixed in with a bunch of stuff.
I've still got at my house. I've still got probably, I don't know, like 8 rounds. I don't have a lot, but I have a couple $100 of silver.
Yeah. Another type of silver that you could potentially purchase out there if you were desperate, just to get your hands on something. It's called junk silver. Here's a bunch of it right here.
Okay.
These are a bunch of dimes, quarters, nickels, stuff that was it's mostly dimes. But you know, pre 1965, quarters, dimes, half dollars have 90% silver.
Okay.
So if you're ever getting change back, you know, from a gas station or whatever, and you see that you got something from like 1964, keep it, pocket it,
Okay.
because that thing's worth more than what the coin's worth. By
Did
a
they
lot.
stop using silver in 1965? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So
Okay.
after it, so 1965 is when they started using other types of metals.
Cool. So anything 64 or earlier has silver potentially in it.
That's what ChatGPT says, and that's what is
That's
in
junk.
my junk silver here. Yes.
Now, if you were to ever sell that, like, what would they do? Would they cast it down or smelt it down and make real silver bars out of it, or?
No, I think it still has the same value,
Sure.
just at 90%. So they would weigh it and say, okay, so let's say there's 100 ounces, and you know, 100 ounces currently is worth what, $3,000 ish.
Yeah, 3,200.
Yeah,
yeah.
So they would weigh it, and they would say, okay, so you got 100 ounces here. Let's multiply that by 90%, and
Gotcha.
here's what it's worth.
Cool.
And then they you know, hand you the cash for that, minus just under spot or whatever. I can't remember when I cashed in. It seemed very reasonable.
Yeah.
I feel like it may have even been over spot by 50 cents.
Wow.
I don't, or they paid me the spot price minus 50 cents. It was something
Yeah.
ridiculously
Well,
low
sometimes
premium.
when they have a shortage of coins too, they're just happy to have a coin that they can sell back out for $5
I think
more,
so.
right?
I think that was it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that makes sense. But I'm thinking, like, with this junk silver, like, do people, smelt that down and make real, like, if you trade this back into a coin shop?
Yeah, I don't think they do that.
Okay.
Because then it would get mixed with the other metals if
Well-
I had to guess, because it has value as it is.
Sure.
You just collect it in its weight.
Well, there's just a way, like, I know when you're smelting, there's, like, if you add salt or whatever to it, it'll bring out all the other metals to the top, and then you just scrape the top, and then you have a pure silver solution. I don't exactly know how that works. We do real estate here. We don't smelt metals.
Well, I'm going to ask, do people melt down junk silver? Yes,
Oh.
but usually not the best idea to melt junk silver. Here's why. Okay. Some refineries or jewelers do melt junk silver, especially if they need raw silver for making jewelry, bullion, or industrial use.
Industrial.
Yeah. So does it make financial sense?
Sure.
If silver prices skyrocket, it could. Better alternative, instead of melting, most people just sell the junk silver as is to dealers, collectors, investors, because it's already got value.
Right.
As is. So people buy this stuff. It's just it's easier to just go with the simple, here's a troy ounce.
Yeah.
And this one's actually in the shape of a little bar, but it's the exact same as one of these rounds. They just come in different shapes sometimes.
Yeah.
But it was fun to have, some bigger bars. But, with that, they did pay little. I think the spot price was a little bit less on the big bars when they were purchasing. Here's another thing that you may want to, if you have a concern of like which a lot of people have valid concerns of this. If our money supply does the U.S. dollar, if it does completely if it's eradicated,
Right.
Printed out of existence, and we do have to go to other means of trading value. And if all you had were these, $30 coins, it would be hard to buy stuff that's like worth less than $30.
Right.
Unless you had fractional silver,
Okay.
which you can buy as well. So I've got a handful of these newly created, they are fractional troy ounces. So this is 0.25 of a troy ounce, and it says so right there. So 4 of these would be one, about $30 worth.
Cool.
And there's also these little tenths.
Yeah.
Tenths of a troy ounce too. So you've got those too. If we do enter into the apocalypse and have to deal out smaller silver when we're buying our bread,
Yeah.
and eggs.
It's satisfying if we were to go pay in the stuff. Do you remember that joke from Louis C.K. Where he's talking about he's like
throws a vague
yeah
silver
like I wish I could go to like an old time saloon and just throw like a vague sack of silver on a bar, give me a horse and a bath, throw a undisclosed amount of coin on the table.
Yeah, just a one coin. That should be
That's enough.
That's enough. Thank you. Yeah, or a vague amount. Just a bag of coins.
Yeah.
Go kill that. Here you go. That should be sufficient. He throws
This is for your troubles, yes.
just a vague amount of coins.
This
in a
is
bag.
copper.
Oh, thank you. Doesn't even look.
No,
like
it's I don't think they'll ever I mean, I hope we don't get to that point where the dollar actually I don't know if I do or not. What if the dollar became just eradicated?
Well, there's other things. So if that happened, it would suck for a lot of people that save money.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Suck real bad because all of a sudden the U.S. dollar went to zero, but that doesn't mean that there's no value in the country.
Right.
There's still plenty of value with the land, food, housing.
Right.
There's still plenty of value with cars, precious metals, all these other things that aren't cash. Basically, anything that has value that's not cash would still have value.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, it would still have value, but how would you pay for the things with value then? Just with
Well, there's cryptocurrency.
Cryptocurrency, yeah.
The cryptocurrency, unless the internet went away too. But
Yeah.
with Starlink, I think that's hard to imagine.
Yeah.
Right?
I'd be really mad if the internet went away.
I mean, I don't know if the grid could be pulled away that hard anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it would take a lot for the grid to completely go down.
Right.
Because there's so many independent sources of power and now internet out there.
It's true. Yeah, no, just interesting to think
I could
about.
be wrong about that.
Yeah, we're not professionals on any of this stuff. It's just it's cool to ask the questions and see what if,
So this is a security measure. It's not, and with me, I don't only invest in real estate and silver.
Right.
I also have other, I invest in other things.
Right.
Now I'm finally using a retirement account now and all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
To invest. Oh, and by the way, that last deal that we were speaking about, turns out I wasn't able to do it in just my IRA, so I found an alternative way to still use my IRA, and I used heavy ChatGPT to figure out how to do it legally and legitly. And so my retirement account is going to lend money to my LLC and make a fixed interest rate.
Okay.
And it has to go through. It doesn't have to, but it's better paper trail to just like send the money as a loan through title, and then get it collected, and then at when I sell the property, then I pay that loan off.
Okay.
With interest.
Now, I would consider that self-dealing, but I don't know the rules. Obviously, if you've done ChatGPT work, good
so
for you.
there was a lot that I had to work around in order to make it not self-dealing.
Right.
But figured it out.
Cool.
So, Anyway, why do you think that might be self-dealing?
Because you're taking money from your retirement account and you're using it for your own financial gain. Like you're basically padding. They consider it padding your investment account because I know you have a fixed interest rate or whatever. What interest rate are you paying it?
24% with a 12-month interest guarantee.
I'd be very careful.
That was the max.
Okay.
That's what it said. It's like, don't go above 24% if you get audited. Like, it's still, there was a lot involved with this, but according to ChatGPT, which knows the rules better than I do,
but not better than an attorney.
but it did chime me away quite a bit. Like, it kind of at first was like, I guess you could do a joint venture if you guys had the exact same amount of money.
Yep, that's what I was talking about, pro forma.
But still, at some point it was like, well, because you're getting a loan, it won't work out. It's good, considered self-dealing.
Yeah.
So the best alternative is simply to just your IRA can give your LLC a loan for a fixed interest rate. And that's it. We can look at it later.
Yeah, I would tread lightly, but that's me.
Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, silver. Do you ever want to buy any gold?
Do I ever want to buy any gold? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I just like having lots of this because, like, to get one piece, like if I got a quarter ounce of gold, what is that?
A quarter ounce of gold. I think the last time gold was like 3,300 or something like that, right?
Let's see. How much is an ounce of gold? Let's just look real quick.
Yeah.
Gold
ask.
let's just go 1 ounce of gold. Regular about $2,800.
$3K.
Yeah, so about $3K.
Okay.
So it's about silver is about 1/10 the cost of gold.
Yeah.
Real simple. Silver's about $30 an ounce, and gold is about $3,000 an ounce. So a quarter of that would be what, $800 or so?
Yeah,
$700-800 for a piece about that big.
Yep.
Just for it to be gold instead of silver. I'd rather have
All
these.
Yeah.
Because I just think it would be easier to trade.
Sure.
If the shit just went down, or if I had to me, I have enough room in my safe to have more silver than little tiny pieces of gold that I kind of get afraid. It's like Bitcoin with me.
Sure.
Like if I had a big amount of money in cryptocurrency, I would be afraid that I would lose the codes or lose it somehow. I feel like this would take a lot of work to lose.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean?
I hear you. I just, like if we're looking at these as precious metals and the way they are, like gold is a much more valuable and rare resource, right? So does that mean the pocket for how much it's worth in the future will go up since it is so much more hard to get a hold of?
Not necessarily. Now, if you listen to Robert Kiyosaki, he highly recommends silver because silver is an industrial use metal.
It is, yeah. It's used in a lot of cell phones.
It's used in a lot of electronics. And there's only so much silver out there, and it actually gets used. Gold sits, and it's like a pet rock. So yeah, the value of gold is pretty much always going to be more.
Right.
But I feel like silver just has the potential to go up in value. Greater returns than gold.
Sure.
Is just if I had to guess.
Yeah.
And so far that's been true, I believe.
Well, you bought it in 2012 and
well, maybe not. You know what? Actually, gold was about $1,700 an ounce in, if I remember right.
Right.
When I was buying, maybe it was close to $2,000. And I bought silver at a high at $38, and it went down in value, and gold went up.
Sure.
Since then. So, but whatever.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
It depends on the time. The timing, you can't always get perfect, but you can always get in the game,
right?
And just stay in it,
yeah.
And then it won't matter.
And like we said, like I think this is a great forced savings that you're doing. It's really good.
Yeah.
My only problem with it, yes, the market goes up, of course, but my only problem with it is it's not an account that specifically grows or compound interest. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So that's one of the disadvantages.
That is a disadvantage, but the nice thing is like, it's here, it's yours. You can do whatever you want with it, whenever you want with it.
Yeah. But yeah, if you have cash
It's
sitting in a
better than cash, yes.
high yield, and you're making 5 or 6% returns on cash, you're still losing.
Yeah.
You know, if you have that in a high yield, when you consider inflation,
Right.
Regular average inflation is more than 10%.
Right.
Most
And
years.
I think we talked about this on past episodes too. Like, I've got a high yield, and, you know, I get about $100 a month in just interest on that. Mm-hmm. Which is cool, because then that $100 starts building interest.
Yeah, compound.
Which is compound, which is great. But then, like, what we've talked about is, like, do I take that $100 a month, and do I just start buying silver with that? Like, that could be the way I do that.
But here's something else to consider too. When I started selling real estate, the average house in Coeur d'Alene, I was in Florida at the time, but the average little 3-bedroom, 2-bath home in Coeur d'Alene was going for about 150 grand.
Yeah.
Now that same house is going for about 450 grand, maybe even more.
Yeah.
Silver was about $38 an ounce. The value did go down. It's about $31 now.
Right.
But if I had a bunch of silver back then versus the U.S. dollar,
Right. That's true. Yeah.
if I had the equivalent amount of U.S. dollar, the amount of value that the U.S. dollar has lost in
Your
the last
silver
12
lost
years,
way less than the dollar did.
the silver lost so much less.
Yeah.
So much less. So even though it did lose value, it did not lose nearly as much
Right.
as the U.S. dollar.
That's true.
Because the U.S. dollar lost, when you're looking at real estate, every little thing's a little bit different too.
Yeah.
But like, if you bought a burger back then, it did not cost as much as a $20 burger today.
Right.
Or the house that's 3 times as much.
Right.
So it's just something to consider that the value of this loses almost guaranteed every year. This stuff is not guaranteed to lose every year.
Right.
And if it does, it's probably not going to be as bad as that.
Right.
And it's funner to play with, and it's harder to go cash in
Yeah.
on emergencies.
That's true.
So it's a better way to build I believe it's a better way to build your savings.
Right. And again, like, there's no right or wrong answer here.
Yeah.
I think it's going to come down to personal preference. Yeah, I do agree that, like, this is kind of a forced savings. It's hard to get a hold of. So is my high yield, though. Like, when I try to cash out of my high yield, it's like, okay, you'll have the money in 10 days. I'm like, ooh, I'll find something
never
else.
mind.
Yeah, I'll figure it out
Just stay
later.
there.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, that's I try not to even touch that anyway.
Yeah.
But I have, like, specifically, like, a vacation fund in my high yield. So Sam and I were going to go visit Ari in March, and I just pulled all the money from my vacation fund. I'm like, there we go. Let's buy the Airbnb, and I didn't have to worry about it.
Nice.
That was nice. So,
Whoa.
ooh,
We actually have a question from Facebook. So how do I get no
Brett
money
Shoemaker,
and
I love that guy.
limited risk? Well, Brett, it's you buy real estate with debt, and you make sure it cash flows, and then you buy more.
I think the first thing you want to do, Brett, and I think I think you're being silly with the question, but we're
Yeah,
going to
but
answer it real. So Brett said, how do I get rich quickly with no money and limited risk? I would hire people to rob banks and have a very clear line of communication between them, or very far line of communication.
Said no money. How do you hire people?
You pay them out of closing, duh.
Right.
You pay them when they get the
promise
money.
that
You
they'll
promise that they'll get the money.
I promise you'll get some of it.
Here's how to rob a bank. I take 60% because I'm orchestrating the deal. You take 40%, and then you're paid.
And you name them a color.
And you name them a color. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're Mr. Orange.
Mr. Orange.
Mr. White. Mr. Brown.
Limited risk. Like, it depends on what you consider rich is, honestly. Like, because I think everybody's definition of rich is different.
Yeah.
Like, your definition of rich is different than my definition of rich. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, I don't really like, and I'm not really sure if I enjoy the word rich, because you could be like, I guess that just means an abundance,
Yeah.
right? But I mean, you can be rich with time, you
health,
can be
wealth,
rich
and
with
happiness
health.
is what they say, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
your happiness,
Right.
But rich with money, I mean, it's real simple. You earn more than you spend.
Brett asked a follow-up question. Did you see it? Do you have any lenders that you would recommend?
I said no risk.
Lenders that we recommend, Brett Shoemaker, the Mortgage King. No, I don't have any more lenders that we recommend.
Shoemaker.
I'm just kidding. Brett Shoemaker absolutely is one of the most fantastic mortgage lenders in the nation.
And there's actually no risk getting a mortgage. Zero. He said, yeah. There's no risk because it's not your money. I mean, it might be your money when you have to pay the mortgage, but you can get roommates and they can pay it.
Yeah. Everything has a risk, and you just have to...
So there you go, Brett. That's how you can do it. You buy a property with no money out of pocket. You ask the seller to pay your closing costs. You get a USDA or an FHA mortgage with an IFHA combo. That way you only need 0.5% down or something. You ask your grandmother for that 0.5% because you can get gifted funds for that kind of stuff.
You let that season in your account for 30 to 60 days.
And then you go buy a big house that needs some work with a bunch of bedrooms, and you invite a bunch of people to move in with you and pay that mortgage for you plus a little bit extra.
Yeah.
That's how you do it. And then you move out and do it again.
And then, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat.
Does that satisfy you, Brett?
Brett Shoemaker, are you not entertained? Are you not satisfied?
Hopefully that helps.
Yeah.
He said no risk.
Yeah. But seriously, I know Brett said...
There's no such thing as no risk.
Yeah. And it depends. Everything has a risk. It has a risk. You have a risk of not doing a job. You have a risk of not making money. You have a risk of your job completely going away. You have a risk of, making a lot of money in your case and being sued.
Yeah.
There's always a risk. It doesn't matter what it is. You just have to weigh the risk and weigh the rewards and see if the investment is worth it.
For sure.
Yeah.
There's so many different ways to make money out there. I think the biggest thing you can do is just go out there, do something, be consistent, just keep doing it, keep showing up every day, and make it work.
Yeah.
And the internet will show you how to do whatever you don't know how to do.
Right.
Keep it simple out there. Use common sense, and hope you guys enjoyed this episode.
Yeah, use common sense. Use condoms. And I love what Alex Hormozy says. He says, do something so good or do something so long that it's impossible for you to be bad at it.
Yeah.
Right. So just go find a thing and go do it.
Because you're going to be bad at first.
Yeah.
But not if you keep doing it. All right, everybody. Hope that helped. I hope you guys enjoy silver just as much as I do.
You're going to love silver the way Nick does. We guarantee it.
We guarantee it.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for joining us on the Investor Shed podcast. As always, leave us a 5-star review or some juicy comments if you enjoyed the episode. We love you all.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for checking out the Investor Shed podcast. If you enjoyed your time, make sure to leave a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Follow along on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram at The Investor Shed for shorts and promos about each episode. Do you want to be a guest or know someone who has great real estate investing advice and stories? Reach out to us at theinvestorshed@gmail.com.